The colony world of Vera was a land of endless skies and silver mountains. Its people, the Verans, were strong and proud. For generations they had defended their cities from raiders who came from the dark borders of space. In every tale sung by their elders, one name was now whispered louder than the rest: Erin, the untouchable warrior. Erin was known for her skill with the blade and her unbroken vow. Since the day she first picked up a weapon, she swore that no man would ever lay a hand upon her. To the Verans, this was more than a personal oath, it was a statement of pride and strength. Many respected her, some feared her, and others envied her. But no one dared question it. She walked the city streets like a storm in waiting. Her tall frame and steady gaze told all who looked at her that she was not one to be challenged. Children stopped their play when she passed, pointing at the warrior whose victories had already become lessons in the academy. Traders spoke her name in hushed voices. Even the High Council listened when she gave her reports from the front lines. Yet, behind her sharp eyes, Erin carried a burden only she understood. Strength was not only her armor, it was her prison. From the day she made her vow, she had chosen distance. No hand of comfort rested on her shoulder. No friend dared catch her arm in jest. And no warrior sparred too close, fearing her wrath. She told herself this was what she wanted. That this distance was her protection. That closeness was weakness. But in the silence of the night, when the city fires dimmed, she sometimes wondered if her vow had made her untouchable not only in battle but in life. The skies of Vera shifted one evening with the arrival of strangers. A fleet of ships, smaller and less decorated than the grand vessels of the Verans, descended toward the colony. These were the humans, travelers from a distant world. Their purpose was not conquest, but settlement. They came with tools, machines, and the quiet hope of building homes among the stars. The Verans were divided. Some saw them as allies who could bring knowledge and trade. Others saw them as intruders who did not belong. Erin did not care for either side. To her, the humans were simply another distraction from her true task, defending her people. She had no interest in their strange ways, nor in their fragile bodies that seemed too light for battle. When she first saw them in the city square, she watched from the shadows. Their leader spoke of peace and cooperation. The humans smiled often, as if to show they carried no threat. Children ran to see them, pointing at their simple clothes and odd tools. Erin's eyes narrowed. These were not warriors. They had no discipline in their stance, no fire in their gaze. They would never survive the raids that scarred the borders of Vera. But something in her chest stirred when she noticed one human who did not stand at the front, nor seek attention. He was among the workers unloading supplies. His name, she later learned, was Tom. Unlike the others, he did not speak loudly or try to impress. He simply moved with steady focus, lifting crates, guiding others, and working without complaint. His strength was plain, though unpolished. His silence was not weakness, it was intent. Erin shook her head. What did it matter? A vow was a vow, and no human could ever be part of her world. The council, however, thought differently. They welcomed the humans with words of caution but also curiosity. Trade was valuable, and allies were rare. A partnership could mean more stability for the colony. Erin was ordered to observe, to ensure the humans did not bring hidden danger. She accepted the command without protest, though she inwardly scoffed. Guarding builders and settlers was no task for a warrior like her. That night, as the humans set up their small camp at the edge of the city, Erin stood on the high walls, her blade at her side. The stars stretched above her like silver fire. Below, the laughter of human settlers reached her ears. They laughed too easily, she thought. They trusted too quickly. And yet, there was no denying the quiet determination in the way they worked through the night, carrying stone, raising beams, and shaping ground that was not their own into something new. Her eyes paused once more on the quiet human, Tom. He was not the strongest among them, nor the loudest. But every time another faltered, he was there to help. Every time a problem rose, he searched for a solution. He was not a warrior, yet he carried himself with the weight of responsibility. Erin turned away. It was not her concern. She was untouchable. She was a warrior of Vera, sworn to her vow, sworn to her people. No man, human or Veyran, could touch her life. And yet, as the night deepened, she could not stop her thoughts from returning to the human who never once looked her way. The sun of Vera rose with a pale golden light, spreading across the mountains and the quiet valleys. Morning brought new sounds to the city: hammering, shouting, and the rhythm of construction. The humans had begun their work. Erin stood on the edge of the training ground, her arms crossed, watching the newcomers from a distance. Warriors sparred before her, practicing blade strikes and defensive moves, yet her eyes often shifted toward the figures at the city's border. The humans had set up a camp with tents, wooden frames, and piles of tools. Their movements were clumsy compared to Veyran precision, but there was an energy in their labor that could not be ignored. She told herself she had no interest in them. Still, her gaze lingered. The humans worked differently than her people. Where Veyrans built with order, ranks, and sharp commands, the humans shouted casually to one another, laughed, and improvised. To Erin's eyes, it looked almost chaotic. And yet, piece by piece, walls rose, beams stood tall, and stone was cut and fitted. The humans might lack discipline, but their teamwork carried its own strength. Among them, one figure drew her attention again and again. He was the one she had noticed on the first night, the man called Tom. Unlike the others, he did not waste words. He did not boast of his strength, nor did he seek the approval of his leaders. He simply worked. When a beam was too heavy for one man, Tom was there to lift with another. When the ground cracked beneath a post, Tom was the first to bring more stones to fix it. He did not lead with authority, but with quiet action. If others grew tired, he did not scold them, he simply kept working, and his steady pace pulled them forward. Erin frowned as she studied him. He was no warrior. His arms were strong but untrained, his movements rough and unshaped. He carried no blade at his side, only tools. Yet something in the way he moved unsettled her. It was not skill, it was certainty. A certainty that did not ask for permission. Later that day, Erin was summoned to the council hall. The leaders of Vera had gathered to speak with the humans' envoy. The great stone chamber was filled with voices echoing against the high walls. Veyrans sat in their carved seats, tall and stern, while the human representatives stood humbly, presenting their plans for trade and cooperation. Erin kept to the side, her duty being only to observe. She listened as the human leader, a woman with calm eyes, spoke of building trust and sharing resources. The council questioned her with sharp tones, demanding what the humans could offer that the Veyrans did not already have. The woman answered with patience, speaking of knowledge, of tools, and of medicine. Erin's gaze, however, was not on the leader. From her place in the shadows, she noticed Tom again, standing quietly at the edge of the chamber, holding a rolled map. He did not speak, did not step forward, but his eyes scanned the room, alert and steady. When the meeting ended, Erin left swiftly, her cloak brushing the stone floor. She wanted no part in these discussions. To her, words were weaker than steel. Yet outside the hall, she found her path crossing with the human. Tom was carrying crates down the long stairs, his arms steady beneath the weight. He did not look at her, did not bow or pause, only shifted the load and kept walking. For the first time in years, Erin felt a flicker of irritation. Most who saw her lowered their gaze or stiffened with respect. This man did not. It was not arrogance, nor ignorance. It was as if her presence simply did not move him. She was a storm to everyone else, but to him, she was just another figure passing by. That night, Aaron returned to the walls of the city. The humans' camp glowed with firelight in the distance. She saw them still working even as stars filled the sky, their laughter drifting on the wind. She leaned on her blade, staring down at their movements. She thought again of Tom. Why did his silence trouble her more than 100 words? Why did his steady hand stay in her mind when she closed her eyes? The answer did not come. Instead, a voice called from behind her. It was Caro, a fellow warrior and longtime companion. You watch them too much, Caro said, stepping up beside her. They are only settlers. Builders. They are not warriors, Aaron. They will not last here. Aaron did not turn her head. Then they will fall. It is not my concern. Caro chuckled softly. Strange. For something not your concern, you stand here every night, looking down at them. Aaron's jaw tightened. She gave no reply. The winds shifted, carrying the scent of smoke and the distant sound of hammers. She told herself again that these humans meant nothing to her. That her vow kept her apart, above, untouched. But deep within her chest, a quiet unease had begun to grow. Not fear. Not anger. Something different. Something she could not name. And at the center of it stood the silent human stranger, who never once looked her way. The days passed, and the humans continued their work near the walls of the Veyron city. They cut stone, shaped wood, and built their trade post piece by piece. At first, the Veyrons watched with suspicion. Some mocked them for their clumsy ways, while others grew curious about their strange tools. Aaron, however, remained distant. She told herself again and again that she had no reason to care. Her duty was to protect the city, not to worry about builders. Yet something about the humans unsettled her, especially the one called Tom. He worked silently, always steady, always present, as if the chaos of the world did not touch him. It was during one restless morning that trouble arrived. A horn echoed from the outer watchtowers, sharp and urgent. Raiders had been spotted on the horizon. They came often, striking small villages and supply lines before retreating into the hills. This time, they were moving toward the new human camp. The Veyron Council called for defense at once. Warriors armed themselves and rode out to meet the threat. The humans, though untrained in combat, refused to leave their camp unguarded. They gathered tools, spears, and whatever they could use. Aaron led a squad of warriors to the border. Dust rose ahead of them as the raiders drew near. The air was thick with tension, the kind that came before the clash of blades. As her soldiers formed their lines, Aaron's eyes caught an unexpected sight. Tom was there. He stood with the humans near their half-built walls, holding only a long pole reinforced with iron at the tip. His stance was unpolished, his grip rough, but he did not back away. Move back. Aaron ordered sharply as she approached. This is not your fight. Tom looked at her, calm and steady. If they destroy this place, it is our fight. Aaron's jaw tightened. She was not used to disobedience, especially from outsiders. You are not trained, she said. You will only slow us down. But before she could argue further, the raiders charged. Shouts filled the air, and the battle began. Steel clashed with steel. Aaron moved with the grace of years of training, her blade cutting through attackers with precision. Her warriors fought fiercely beside her, holding the line. She expected the humans to scatter, but when she glanced toward them, she saw something different. Tom did not run. He fought as if survival alone guided him, raw, unrefined, but determined. When one raider tried to strike down a young human worker, Tom shoved the man aside and blocked the attack. His pole snapped against the enemy's blade, but he stood firm. He took the blows meant for others, never stepping back. Aaron's anger grew as much as her confusion. Why would a man without training stand in the path of danger? Why risk himself for people who could barely hold a weapon? She cut through another raider and pushed forward to clear the way. "Fall back," she shouted at Tom again. But he ignored her. His focus was only on protecting those around him. A raider's strike nearly reached him, but Aaron cut the enemy down at the last second. She glared at Tom, but he did not thank her. He simply nodded once and returned to his place in the line. The fight raged on. Dust and smoke filled the air, the ground shaking with every clash. Aaron's warriors held the raiders at bay, but the humans refused to leave the field. Their lines bent, faltered, yet somehow held together. And at the center of them was Tom, silent and unyielding. Finally, with one last push, the raiders broke and fled into the hills. Silence followed, broken only by the labored breathing of the fighters. Aaron lowered her blade, her arms heavy with battle. She turned toward the humans, ready to scold them for their foolishness. But her words froze. Tom was standing, dirt on his face, sweat on his brow, holding the broken remains of his weapon. Around him, the other humans looked to him, their eyes filled with relief. He had not led them with commands, but with his presence. Aaron approached, her voice sharp. "You disobeyed. You should have retreated." Tom met her gaze. His voice was quiet, but steady. "If I had left, they would have fallen. I could not do that." His words struck something deep within her. Courage was not strange to her, she had seen it in warriors all her life. But this courage was different. It was not built on pride, not for glory. It was simple, stubborn, and unshaken. Aaron wanted to argue, to remind him of her vow, of her pride, of her strength. But the words did not come. Instead, she turned away, her cloak brushing the dust. Yet as she walked back to her warriors, the image of Tom standing firm among the settlers would not leave her mind. For the first time in many years, Aaron felt something she could not name. It was not anger. It was not respect. It was something between them, something that unsettled the walls she had built around herself. And though she would not admit it aloud, she knew this human stranger had begun to challenge more than just her orders. He had begun to challenge her vow. The day had started like any other on Vera. The humans were at work, and the city's warriors, led by Aaron, patrolled the borders. The quiet tension of the past few days had begun to settle, and for a moment, it seemed that peace might hold. Aaron had returned from the outer patrol to find the humans repairing the camp after the last skirmish. Dust rose in soft clouds as they lifted stones and hammered beams into place. Her eyes immediately found Tom. He was adjusting a large crate on a makeshift cart, his movements steady and efficient. She wanted to ignore him, as always. She reminded herself, he was just a human. No warrior. No threat. No matter how steady or calm he seemed, he could not touch her world. But fate has a way of intervening when pride is high. A sudden tremor shook the ground. Aaron's sharp eyes darted toward the horizon, where a group of raiders emerged from the hills, faster and larger than before. Their weapons glinted in the sunlight, and their shouts carried like fire across the valley. Panic spread through the camp. The humans scattered, unsure of what to do. Aaron's warriors moved quickly, cutting a path through the invaders. She led the charge, her blade flashing in the sun, but the raiders were cunning. They did not flee, they surrounded the camp. The ground beneath the human settlement began to collapse. A massive support beam, weakened from the last skirmish, gave way under the weight of a stack of supplies. A loud crack echoed through the air. The crates tumbled, and with them, a section of the wooden structure collapsed. Dust and splinters filled the air. Aaron's eyes widened in shock. Among the falling wood and stone, she saw Tom trapped under the beams. He had been trying to hold the collapsing wall in place long enough to save the others. The weight pressed down on him, and for a moment, he did not move. No human could lift such a heavy structure alone. Even Aaron, strong and trained, hesitated. Her instincts screamed at her to act, but pride made her pause. She was a warrior, and he was merely a human. But the hesitation lasted only a heartbeat. Without thinking of her vow, without consideration of her pride, Aaron leapt forward. She shoved aside another fallen beam and lifted the heavier timbers with strength she did not know she had. Tom coughed as dust filled his lungs. Aaron reached him, pulling him free from the wreckage. He fell to the ground, coughing, but safe. The humans around him stared in awe, their fear turning to relief. "You shouldn't have," Aaron began, brushing the dust from her armor, her voice sharp, but he interrupted her. "I didn't ask for help," Tom said, voice raspy, but calm. "I just didn't want anyone else hurt." Her jaw tightened. No man, no human was supposed to touch her world. Her pride, her vow, demanded that she remain untouchable. And yet here he was, saved not because he asked, but because she acted. The raiders had not yet fled, and there was no time to dwell on pride. Aaron lifted her blade and charged, Tom scrambling to his feet beside her. He was untrained, awkward, and inexperienced in battle, but he moved with a determination that refused to be ignored. Together, they fought side by side. The raiders were eventually forced back. With clever positioning and the strength of the Veyron warriors, they broke through the invaders' line. Smoke hung in the air, the camp was battered, and the humans were shaken, but alive. When the dust settled, Aaron looked down at Tom. He was breathing heavily, dirt streaked across his face, but his eyes were steady. He did not bow, did not kneel. He simply looked at her with quiet acknowledgement. "You saved me," he said simply. "I did not ask to," Aaron replied, brushing her hair back. Pride struggled against the strange feelings rising in her chest. "You were careless. You could have been killed." "I was trying to help," he said, shrugging lightly. "I didn't want anyone else hurt." Aaron's lips pressed together. Words felt heavy. This human, this simple, silent man had shown courage, selflessness, and strength in ways that no warrior of Veyra had done. He had not sought to impress, he had not sought to command, and yet he had proven his worth. For the first time in years, Aaron felt her vow, her armor of pride, crack. No man had ever touched her world before. No man had ever stood with her without asking permission, without seeking something in return. And yet Tom had done just that. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the camp, Aaron did not speak again. She did not scold him, nor praise him. She simply walked back to the walls, her mind racing, her heart uneasy. That night, the humans rebuilt their camp, cautious but determined. Aaron returned to her post atop the wall, her gaze fixed on the stars. She thought of the day's events, and of the human who had refused to retreat. She reminded herself that she was untouchable, that her vow was absolute. And yet, the memory of his steady hands, the way he had faced danger without fear, lingered in her mind. For the first time, Aaron began to wonder, what does it mean to be untouchable, if someone can reach your world without even asking? The city of Veyra slept under a silver sky, its towers casting long shadows over the quiet streets. Aaron stood atop the highest wall, gazing down at the human settlement below. The fires from their small camp glowed softly in the night, flickering like tiny stars against the dark. Since the last battle, Aaron had avoided the humans as much as she could. She patrolled the walls, sparred with her warriors, and trained with relentless discipline, keeping her mind focused on duty. But try as she might, she could not stop thinking about Tom. He was not a warrior, yet his courage had been undeniable. He had faced danger without hesitation, lifted a collapsing structure without complaint, and risked himself to save others. He had not asked for permission, had not sought recognition, and yet he had acted where so many others would have hesitated. Aaron shook her head. Pride told her to dismiss these thoughts. She had made a vow, no man could touch her, no human could breach her world. And yet, the memory of Tom's steady hands and calm eyes lingered, unbidden. The next morning, she returned to the humans' camp to oversee their work from a distance. She reminded herself that it was only her duty to protect the city and ensure the humans did not make mistakes that would endanger themselves. Yet as she watched, she noticed Tom once more, carrying supplies with quiet efficiency, helping others without pause or complaint. He did not seek to impress. He did not boast. He simply worked. And every time she saw him, a strange feeling gnawed at her pride, a feeling she could not name. That afternoon, the humans attempted to lift a large beam into place. Several workers struggled, their movements awkward and disorganized. Tom stepped forward without hesitation, guiding them, offering support. He did not shout, did not demand respect, but his presence changed the rhythm of their work. Slowly, the beam moved, lifted into position by the careful coordination of human hands under his quiet direction. Aaron's eyes narrowed. Why did this man unsettle her so much? He had done nothing wrong. He had no claim over her. He had only acted with courage and care, and yet, her thoughts returned to him again and again. She tried to focus on her warriors, on patrol routes, on the rising towers of the city. She sparred in the training grounds with a ferocity unmatched, attempting to push her thoughts away. But each swing of the blade, each movement, seemed to remind her of Tom's unwavering calm, his quiet strength, and the way he had faced danger without hesitation. That evening, Aaron stood once more atop the wall, overlooking the camp. The humans were settling in, tired but diligent, their fires burning softly against the night. She saw Tom walking among them, checking their supplies, helping those who struggled, offering encouragement without words. A fellow warrior approached her, breaking her gaze. "Why do you watch them so much?" he asked. "They are humans. Builders. You fought raiders. You should leave them to their work." Aaron said nothing. The truth was, she did not know why she watched. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the way he moved among them, steady and unyielding. Perhaps it was the sense that he belonged to no one, yet had entered her world without permission. Days passed in a rhythm of work and patrol. The humans grew stronger, more confident. Aaron observed, and gradually, she realized something new: they had changed. Not because she had intervened, but because of Tom. His courage, his calm, and his quiet leadership had inspired them. They faced challenges without fear, learned quickly, and worked together in ways that astonished even the Varans. Aaron felt a strange respect for him growing, though she refused to acknowledge it aloud. Her vow was still intact. No man could touch her, she reminded herself. And yet, every time she saw him act without hesitation, helping others, leading without authority, she felt cracks forming in her armor. One night, after the humans had gone to rest, Aaron found herself walking through the camp alone. The fires burned low, casting shadows across the soft earth. She stopped at the edge of the main square and watched Tom as he checked the camp's defenses. He was tired, his clothes dusty and worn, yet his movements were careful and deliberate. He did not look at her, did not speak, yet there was a calm authority in the way he carried himself. Aaron realized, with a shock she could not deny, that she had begun to trust him. She trusted his judgment, his courage, and his heart. And that trust, more than any battle or victory, frightened her. Her vow had always kept her safe. It had kept her strong, untouchable, and unbroken. But now, a human simple, untrained, and silent had found a way past the walls she had built. He had not asked permission. He had not sought her approval. He had only acted. And for the first time in years, Aaron wondered if perhaps being untouchable did not mean being alone. Keela stood alone on the edge of the cliff, the cool wind from Velora's twin moons brushing softly against her skin. Below her, the bright lights of the village flickered like stars trapped on the ground. Tonight, the whole tribe awaited her decision. Their eyes, heavy with judgment and expectation, would soon turn toward her. Her heart was heavy with doubt. For many cycles, she had held a sacred vow, a promise to herself and her people that no man, no matter who, would ever touch her without permission. That vow was her armor, her shield against pain and betrayal. It had kept her safe. It had made her strong. But now, after everything she had seen and felt, she questioned if it was enough. The memory of Ren's hands, steady and gentle, saving her without asking, haunted her. Not with fear, but with something new and unfamiliar warmth. She recalled how his eyes showed no disrespect, only concern and care. He had crossed a line she thought was unbreakable, and yet, he did not shatter her. Her people believed her honor was at stake. To some, Ren's act was a violation, a dishonor to the tribe. They whispered that she had let her guard down, that she had weakened her spirit. Some demanded punishment, others cold silence. But Keela saw it differently. She thought of the moments spent beside Ren after the attack, how he never pushed her, how he listened when she spoke, how he respected her strength. The humans valued freedom, choice, and trust. They did not expect blind obedience or submission. Ren had shown her a new kind of strength, one born of respect, partnership, and courage. Tonight, she would speak. Tonight, she would choose. As the villagers gathered in the large hall, their faces flickered by firelight. The tribal elder stepped forward, his voice deep and serious. Keela, daughter of Velora, the tribe awaits your word. Will you uphold the ancient vow that guards your honor, or will you step beyond the path our ancestors set? The hall fell silent. All eyes were on her. Keela took a deep breath and stepped forward. I once believed that my vow made me strong, she began, her voice steady but soft. That no man could touch me without my permission. This promise was born from pain and fear, from stories told to keep us safe. But I have learned something new. She paused, searching the faces of her tribe. Strength is not only about holding fast to old rules. Strength is about knowing when to open your heart. When to trust. When to choose your own path. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. She looked toward the entrance. Ren stood there, quiet but firm, his eyes meeting hers without shame or fear. I will not deny what happened, she continued. Ren saved my life when danger came. He did not ask for permission because he did not have time. But his hands did not harm me. His heart did not disrespect me. And I will not dishonor myself by pretending I am unchanged. The elder nodded slowly, absorbing her words. I choose a new path for myself and for our people. A path where trust and respect guide us. Where we do not fear connection, but welcome it with open hearts and minds. The room was silent for a long moment. Then, a young woman stood and spoke. Keela, your courage is greater than any vow. If strength means what you say, then we will follow you. Others joined her voice. Slowly, one by one, the tribe began to stand, not in anger, but in respect. The elder raised his hand, signaling for silence once more. Your choice is brave, Keela. The old ways will change because of you. May the stars guide you. Keela felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She looked at Ren, who gave a small smile. No words were needed. Later, as the gathering dispersed, Ren approached Keela. You did the right thing, he said quietly. Keela smiled back. It was my choice. They stood together under the twin moons, two beings from different worlds but now walking the same path. For Keela, the vow was no longer a chain but a bridge, a promise not to shut others out, but to build something stronger with trust and respect. And that night, the first step toward a new future began. The first light of dawn spread softly across the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. On Velora, the village stirred awake, but this morning felt different. The air buzzed with quiet hope, a feeling that something new was beginning. Keela stood at the center of the village square, surrounded by her people. The faces around her were calm but expectant. Today, she would share a new tradition born from courage, respect, and trust. She looked at the crowd and then toward Ren, who stood beside her, his human eyes shining with pride. Their worlds were so different, yet here they were, standing together as equals. Keela raised her voice, clear and strong. For many cycles, we have lived by ancient laws. These laws shaped who we are, kept us safe, and gave us honor. But they also held us back. She paused to let her words sink in. Some in the crowd shifted nervously. Change was not easy. Today, I offer a new path for Velora. One where strength means more than just holding fast to old vows. Strength means trusting others, even when it is hard. Strength means opening your heart without fear. The elder nodded from his place at the edge of the crowd. This is a great moment for our people, he said. A moment where we learn that honor and trust can walk together. Keela smiled softly. From now on, we will honor not only strength but respect. We will build friendships with others, even those from other stars. We will learn from them and teach them what it means to be Veloran. The people murmured, some with hope, some with doubt. But many faces showed the light of understanding. The village was ready to step forward. After the speech, Keela and Ren walked through the village. Children played nearby, their laughter clear and free. Villagers approached to speak, some to thank Keela, others to ask questions. All were curious about what this new future held. A young man named Tano approached Keela. Will this new way change how we fight? He asked. What if others try to hurt us again? Keela nodded. We will still protect our home and our people. But now, we will also protect each other with trust, not just with weapons. We will stand stronger together, Velorans and friends from other worlds. Ren added, humans believe that together, we can face any challenge. Alone, we may fall. But united, we grow stronger. Tuno smiled thoughtfully. I like that. It feels right. As the day went on, Keela met with the tribal council to plan how to welcome new visitors from other planets. She wanted Velora to become a place of peace and learning, not fear and isolation. Later that evening, under the light of the twin moons, Keela and Ren sat together by a quiet river. The water reflected the stars, shimmering like diamonds. Ren spoke first. I never imagined I would find a home on Velora, or someone like you. Keela looked at him, feeling a warmth in her chest. And I never thought I would trust a human so deeply. You showed me that strength can be gentle and that courage can come from caring. They shared a quiet smile. Words were not always needed when hearts understood. Suddenly, a soft sound broke the stillness. A group of villagers arriving with gifts, flowers, woven cloth, and food from their farms. They had come to honor the new tradition and the hope it brought. Keela stood and accepted the gifts with grace. Thank you, she said. Your kindness shows that we can move forward together. The villagers cheered softly. For the first time in many cycles, the community felt united in a way that went beyond old customs. They were ready to embrace the future. In the days that followed, Velora changed. Humans and Velorans trained side by side, learning each other's skills and stories. Children of different races played and learned together. Leaders from nearby planets came to meet the new alliance, curious about this place where trust and respect were becoming the strongest bonds. Keela's vow had transformed. No longer was it a barrier but a bridge, a promise to herself and her people to be brave enough to change, to trust, and to grow. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Keela and Ren stood watching the horizon. Do you ever miss the old ways? Ren asked gently. Keela shook her head. I respect the past, but the future is ours to shape. And I believe it will be brighter than anything we have known. Ren smiled and took her hand not to control, but to walk beside her. Together, they looked forward to the new dawn, a dawn where no vow would hold them back, but every choice would lead them forward.